to the Inspire Spark podcast, where we dive into the lives of extraordinary individuals who are making a difference and inspiring others through their unique stories. I'm your host, Siren, and I'm thrilled to have Dr. Grace Shah joining us today. Grace is a dentist, author, professional speaker, and creative entrepreneur who, besides her healthcare career, is a leader passionate about good governance and rejuvenating organizational culture. So, hi, Grace.
Thanks very much for having me.
My pleasure. For a start, can you share with us your personal journey and what inspired you to write Mental Wealth, this book, How to Journey from Burnout to Abundance?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I have a quite interesting personal journey. So I grew up in a typical Asian migrant family. So my parents actually sacrificed a lot to move to Australia, where they believed it had more freedom and better educational opportunities for their children. So as a young girl, I was really grateful for their sacrifice, and I worked hard. The way we Asians like to repay our parents or show love is by achieving and meeting all the expectations. So I was a bit of an overachiever, and I graduated top of my year in high school and uni. I used to measure my success by my marks, and my identity was sort of tied up with that. But of course, as you graduate, you no longer have awards or next thing to succeed in or next goals. I sort of reach the peak of what I needed to achieve. So then I was thinking about, should I open my own practice? I'm a dentist by trade. So should I open my own practice, or should I go back to uni, be an academic and do research more? And that's actually when one of my research supervisors, who I was really close to in my final year of uni, actually passed away. And he was found by the cleaner on a Sunday morning. And I think that really, shook up my thought process about, why am I doing what I'm doing? And, to what end do I want to go back and do more research? And, is that what I really want to spend my life doing? So I actually then remembered that before I entered dental school, at the interviews, I always told them I wanted to do dentistry because it's the best way I can help everybody as a healthcare professional, because everyone's got teeth, right? So universal healthcare, plus there's a doctor's title, which always helps as an Asian. So I thought, if I want to help everyone, and I always said I wanted to volunteer and help people overseas, I should really go and do it. So I went on a mission trip overseas, and I worked in mental hospitals overseas and did lectures for psychiatric doctors and social workers and psychologists, as well as saw mental health patients and worked in orphanages. So on that trip, I really realized that I was not limited in my options. Like I had different paths and transferable skills outside of just being a dentist. So I came back and I started going to a lot of different courses and exploring different avenues that I could use my transferable skills in. And one of them was property development. So I got into some property projects, but that was when my ex-husband, or my husband at the time, decided that I had changed, and he locked me up in a psych ward. And I went through quite a ordeal, or a bit of a process, to clear my name as a health professional so that I could practice again with no restrictions, and come to terms that I didn't actually have a mental health disease. And it wasn't until much later that I realized that what I had was actually burnout, which changes your behavior or the way you react to things. But it's, not a true mental illness, because I was burnt out when I was working or when I was volunteering in certain things that I wasn't happy doing, or I wasn't feeling fulfilled in. But other times when good things happened, I was still able to be happy. So it wasn't true depression or, true lows or highs. Yeah, and there's a lot to be grateful for, and why I decided to write my book was actually after I was released from the mental hospital. I was really privileged and had an opportunity to go to South Africa with Sir Richard Branson from Virgin,
Oh,
and it was a volunteer trip through Virgin Unite. And on that trip, I met all these amazing people, and who all are creative and do stuff out of the box, and maybe can be classified as being a bit crazy, but no one calls them crazy. And I realized, yeah, like maybe I'm not crazy. I'm just hanging around the wrong people.
yeah.
And, like Richard Branson said to me, oh, you have a really interesting story. You should write a book.
Yeah.
And, that's what I've been sort of working on, or thinking about how to do it in a way that's helpful to others, and not just a victim story, but inspiring stories that can create positive impact.
I see. Wow, it's really an amazing journey. And thank you so much for being so open about your journey and so open in sharing. Thank you. Okay.
No worries.
Oh, it's really amazing. I cannot imagine what you went through. Okay. Let's move on to the next question.
Yeah.
I understand you have explored various career paths in your life. How have those diverse experiences shaped you and contribute to your unique perspectives on mental wealth?
So yeah, mental wealth is kind of not really like a common phrase. It's kind of something I thought up as I was doing some coaching sessions with different coaches and talking to my current husband, the good one. And yeah, because I feel like mental health is a word that's very used, maybe even sometimes overused in our society. And people actually think of mental health as being a bad word. There's a negative
Mm,
connotation to
mm,
it. But
yeah.
actually, we know that like mental health is actually a spectrum. You have mental wellness and you have mental illness. So that's all mental health. And when you have mental health, you're actually healthy. But if you say mental health, people go, oh, it's the
Yeah.
disease, and then there's the other word, which like I myself struggled a lot with what the definition of wealth is, because as a health professional, I was very allergic to, talking about money and building wealth. But
Mm,
I like, what is real wealth? I really like Morgan Housel has this quote that says, wealth is the ability to do what you want,
mm,
when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want. So it's really about freedom to enjoy what money can't buy, whereas people always think of wealth as accumulating material possessions or
mm,
money. So
mm,
I wanted to sort of play on that and call it mental wealth, because I think when you actually achieve mental wellness, then you actually go beyond just being well, but you actually have that freedom to do what you want.
yeah.
It doesn't matter how much money you have. Some people can have very little money, but still have that freedom or
Mm,
mental wellness that flows on into the rest of their life, their relationship, and, and they will feel like they have enough wealth, money wealth, to
mm,
survive, and they're very content and happy. And I think that's what we all want, mental wealth.
I
So that's sort of why I called it mental wealth. And I do have a bit of a fun career path. I've done many different roles, and I still do. So I currently still practice as a dentist clinically, part-time, as well as I sit on some boards for not-for-profits, and I volunteer in some committee roles for not-for-profit organizations. But outside of that, I also do property development, and I do public speaking on burnout prevention, very similar to you, like sort of positive workplace relationships, workplace culture, and how to retain good staff. Because I think as a healthcare professional, that's something very close to my heart, but I think it's also transferable to other industries. My own husband is also, from a HR background like yourself,
yeah.
and I think recruitment and retention is such a big issue, not just in healthcare, but across the corporate world, across many caring professions. People define themselves in lots of areas as being caring people. So yeah, I think this is a message I want to share with lots of people.
Great, thank you. And definitely, I agree that health is wealth. That's what I believe as well. Great, thank you. Let's move on. Your focus is on preventing burnout. Just now you mentioned among busy professionals, especially in caring professions. Could you share some practical tips or strategies from your book that our listeners who might be in these roles can implement in their lives?
Yeah, so yeah, the lessons I learned, I guess, from my journey of burnout, leading to a life that I would now be comfortable to call sort of abundant and, joyful and freedom, is a lot of it is about the mindset as well. So yeah, I think a good acronym that I thought up was GRACE, because that's my name, but also when I was growing up, like I'm a Christian, so
Yes.
the word grace is actually quite commonly used in the Christian world, but it's very vague, like a concept that a lot of people can't grapple with, like, unwarranted or unmerited kindness from God to sinful humans. And those are all very big words. But I think nowadays, actually, people use grace, the word, in non-religious sense as well, which is about showing kindness.
Exactly.
And yeah, and I think it's a good reminder, the acronym, to show kindness to myself, so that I can show kindness to people around me. So grace for me now also means, gratitude, which is being grateful for everything and grateful for everyone that you're blessed to have in your life, or even grateful for the challenges or the difficult experiences we've had, because, lots of good has come out of my own challenges and experiences. And then R is for rest or recharge. So, if we don't prioritize some much needed rest time, sometimes we'll be forced to rest. So for me, that was sort of being locked up in the psych ward for 2 or 3 weeks. That was a very forced rest time, that maybe people don't really usually have time to go on the retreat where people cook for you 5 meals a day, and you are removed from all technology. You have to just rest and read all day. People pay good money for that. So I got to experience that. Yeah, but I think if we learn to do that in our day-to-day, then we wouldn't need to be in a situation where we're forced to do it. And A is for acceptance. So I really like the quote, to accept the past and sort of present circumstances. So you accept the things you cannot change, and courage to change what you can control, and wisdom to know the difference. And then C is for compassion. So being kind and compassionate to other people, but most importantly, also being kind and compassionate to yourself. And E is for encouragement. So using your painful experiences to help and encourage others, and be an encourager. So I think it goes both ways. Like, we want to be encouraging and mentoring other people, but also be surrounding yourself with people who encourage you and support you as well, which is something I had to learn to do. Yeah, I think growing up, I don't know whether you experienced that as like, with our cultural background, words of affirmation is probably not used very often, whether it's in our workplaces or family or mentors. People don't really, to show love is to say, to criticize. Yeah.
Yeah. I do agree, and I find that the both of our frameworks have a lot of similarities as well. My framework, the CARE framework, right? E stands for embrace positive self-talk, which is very similar to what you just mentioned. Positive affirmations.
Yeah, I think like when I met Nick, my current husband, who grew up in a completely opposite to Asian household. So he's from a sort of Latino background, or Aussie background as well. Their family is very freestyle and very positive, and he's always all about compliments and saying nice things. And I'm just like, why? yeah, like not used to being complimented that much. It's a bit of
But
a
it feels
shock to
so
the
good,
system.
right? It feels so
Yeah.
good to be complimented. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love your acronym, Grace. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Could you share a story or example where you witnessed a positive transformation in someone's life by implementing the principles from mental wealth?
Mm. So I think probably the most the easiest example to give without conflict of interest with anyone else is myself. So yeah, so I like to use my own experience because I'm a health professional. So yeah, I think for me, I really found that I need to preach and live it out
Mm,
by example.
mm,
And I guess a easy example is like when I was writing my book. I I started writing last year and sort of started sharing on my social media that what I was planning to do, and I had a book cover ready. I actually was 90% ready with my book, but I wasn't fully happy with it. And then I started getting a lot of opportunities to speak,
mm,
keynotes, and some opportunities to run workshops. And I actually started feeling a bit burnt out myself. And I was like, oh, that's ironic. I'm writing about burnout, but I starting
yes,
to see
yes.
some of the early signs. So
Mm,
I actually had to make a choice to actually pause the
mm,
book process
mm,
uh, and and then just focus on what brings me joy and energy, which is the speaking. And it's actually been a really positive thing because as I actually spoke about it more and gotten feedback, I think now when I start working on my book again, I can sort of rejig things and make it a lot more valuable for other people. And I guess another good example is
good.
someone like Richard Branson, which a lot of people in the entrepreneurial world knows. People who are aligned with what they're doing and they're focused on how to create positive impact on
Mm,
for other people instead of focusing just on themselves.
exactly.
I think that's important thing to remember when we're pursuing success, that
Mm,
it's about what you can give.
exactly. It's a blessing to be able to give
Mm,
than to receive. How do
mm,
you guide people to
mm.
discover their purpose and why is this crucial in preventing burnout?
Yeah. So I think I do it in different ways. It depends on my audience. So for example, that's like a whole 60-minute lecture. So I talked to a group of final year dental students at the University of Queensland at the end of last year. And I think uh, you need to actually know your why. I really like Simon Sinek. He has like a golden circle thing
Mm-hmm.
that he shared on a TED Talk before about finding your why and thinking about who you're serving before you think about how and what. And I think in our work, when we're thinking about career, a lot of times we're focused on the what, which is money or, titles, accolades, success. But that's the outcome. And what we should focus on is the why, or who can we help.
Mm,
So when I'm talking to uni students about that, it's about why did you choose to be in healthcare? If you're
mm,
just in healthcare to make money,
mm.
then that's not really a good motivation
Yes,
to do it, because there are lots of better ways and quicker ways and less torturous ways to make
yes,
money than being in caring professions, where
yes,
we have long hours and we have to
yes,
study very hard, and we have to sacrifice a lot for people we care for.
exactly.
So knowing your why is important so that you can actually still stay passionate about what you do.
Mm,
And then once you're in a good place and you enjoy what you're doing, then you can care for your team better. So that actually affects, how you interact with your assistants, your receptionists, your patients, and the whole team then creates a better experience for the patients or the clients that you're
mm,
working with. Yeah, so I believe it all flows down. As a leader of a team, you need to think about your why and be able to convey that appropriately to the
mm,
people you're leading as well.
Thanks, Grace. Our why is really like a compass that guides us.
Mm.
Thank you. So as we wrap up the session, do you have any final advice for our listeners?
Mm. Yeah, I think, because you're in Singapore, I guess, I thought this will probably resonate a lot with the audience there because, Singapore is full of high achievers who are in demanding professions, or everyone works very hard. I know some of my friends who actually graduated from healthcare courses here go to Singapore and they work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and that's sort of their normal working life. I think I grew up, in an Asian family. I actually studied in Taiwan for my primary school before moving to Australia. So I had that mentality as well for a big part of my life. And I used to have a very narrow definition of what success means and what achievement means, just like what we talked about with wealth. But now I really like this definition by Ralph Waldo Emerson. So what is success? To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty and to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, to know that even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded.
I really love this last part.
Yeah.
To know how much you have impacted others, making their life better.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we set very demanding goals of ourselves, but if you can actually have gratitude and appreciate the best in the people around you, and also be celebrating even the small successes, even if one life has been impacted by you, then I think you live with a lot more joy and you actually feel successful every day.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much, Grace, and thank you for joining us today. Thank you. And to our
Thanks for
listeners, thank
having
you
me.
for joining our conversation. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.